Hi, my name's Elliot, and this is Breaking Into Film, the journey of me trying to break into the film industry. On this episode, we're going to be talking about how we film live events and what technology we can use to make it better. Let's see what happens. So I've had the awesome opportunity of working with people like the ANU and multiple weddings to really kind of do live events. So people talking, as well as obviously ceremonies and the dance and a lot of really cool and important moments for people. So it's been a lot of fun and really enjoyable, but I've run into a few problems and I've realized that there's got to be a way of fixing it. So the big problem with a lot of DSLRs and mirrorless cameras is they can't record for more than 30 minutes. Now, usually that's fine for movies and what I'm doing here because you only need it for about 5 to 10 minutes in one go, and then you just click the record button and then click it again and you keep on going. But when you have live events like people talking or in a wedding ceremony, that can stretch on for more than 30 minutes. Now, it's a bit complicated why there's a limitation of how long you can record for, but long and the short of it, it's basically the EU has got some laws and taxes on cameras, so only proper video cameras are exempt or pay a different tax. I don't fully understand it myself. Long and the short of it, DSLRs and mirrorless cameras don't generally have the ability to record longer than that, except for the Panasonic Lumix GH5, which has a pack you can get to add it on, but I don't have those cameras. I've used Canon and Sony mainly, which have that restriction. So we've got to get around it. Now, one way of doing that is... so we have to get around that. So one way of doing that, and what I've used in the past for the wedding, was a thing called Magic Lantern. So really we need to get around that problem. And one way, at least with Canon cameras, is a program called Magic Lantern. Now what you do is you load that on the SD card, and that then changes the way the camera works and loads some custom firmware, which is good in theory, but in practice it's a bit hit or miss. We actually had the unfortunate thing happen where when we were filming a wedding, I was the main videographer, but we was using a friend's camera which had Magic Lantern on it. It basically stopped recording and we missed about a second of a wedding. Now, that can't happen in a wedding or any event really. So luckily I was also recording with my camera and was doing a glide motion and caught it and was able to patch the gap, but otherwise we would have been stuffed. And that's my big issue with Magic Lantern. And I have looked into it, and some cameras do it better, some do it worse, but unfortunately my secondary camera, which is my 70D, it will pause for about a second before starting recording again, and that's not an option. So what I was looking at is a dedicated recorder. Now, there's two companies that do that. There's Video Devices and Atomos. Now, both of those are quite expensive when it comes down to it. The Atomos Ninja Flame, which is the one I was personally looking at, was about $1,200 Australian, which is quite expensive. But when you think about what it actually does, it's actually really beneficial for what I'm trying to do, is record for long periods of times, and not just to an SD card, but SSDs, which are, in terms of price per gigabyte, is actually cheaper. So I actually wanted to get a monitor for my camera anyway, and luckily at NAB this year, Atomos released a cheaper, smaller version called the Atomos Ninja V, which luckily is the one I want to get now. It's about $1,000 Australian, so it's pretty rough, but when you're doing weddings and live events, you can't miss a single second, and if you do, you have to patch it with crowd shots or overlay or something else, and it just doesn't look professional. Because I personally I've got the awesome opportunity of doing another wedding down in September, and that's just going to be me by myself. So I'm going to have my main Sony camera and the Canon 70D that I gave to my girlfriend, and that's it. And I can't trust Magic Lantern to not do it right, so I have to invest in one of these recorders. So I did a lot of research and really wanted to find out a different option and something that would be cheaper, or a way of doing it with my smartphone or an iPad, but there isn't one out there. And it's really disappointing because you're spending so much money on this monitor and all this gear, but in the long run, missing a second of a wedding is priceless. You can't put a value on that. So you have to do whatever you can to record that moment. So I'm really excited and looking forward to this wedding. I'm going to be doing a lot of glide work and trying to really hone in my skills. And I'm basically practicing every day. I'm getting out there and just walking around with my glide clam until that wedding. So I'm really excited for it, and it's really good to know that there is options out there to break that 30-minute record time with a DSLR or mirrorless camera. I mean, I could have gone and gotten a video camera, but I like taking photos too, and there was no option for me there. So I guess that's kind of my little wrap of kind of what I looked into in my research into what options were out there. Just a quick note, the video devices products, although they're good, they're not really the standard anymore. They seem to be kind of the second option towards Atomos. So that's what I'm going to be going for. Hopefully it's going to be out in July, so I'm going to be grabbing it basically the day it comes out. But that was basically my research into video recorders. Now, if you guys know of any other ones or other different ways of doing it, please leave a comment down below because I would love to know different options. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed. And I will be in New Zealand next week, so there'll be lots of photos on my Instagram, which I'll leave a link to down below. So I'll be back in about 10 days. But I hope you guys enjoy, and if you have any comments or questions or other things you'd like to hear about me talking about, please, again, leave them in a comment down below. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoy, and I'll catch you in the next video.